Ashton Kutcher is famous for his fun-loving personality and playful sense of humor, both on-screen and in real life. He portrayed Michael Kelso, the classic dumb but lovable character, on That 70s Show for 8 seasons and had a blast playing pranks on other celebrities in his own MTV series, Punk'd. Ashton married his former co-star Mila Kunis in 2015, and together they have 2 kids. On the surface, it might look like the actor's life is all sunshine with his all-American good looks and constant smile, but there's actually a much darker side to him that Hollywood doesn't often see. Over the years, he's slowly opened up, revealing the person he truly is behind the jokes and the charm. That 70s Show premiered in August 1998 and focused on the Foreman family, mostly through the eyes of their teenage son, Eric Foreman, and his close-knit group of friends. The gang included Michael Kelso, the charming and good-looking heartthrob, Stephen Hyde, the laid-back stoner with a rebellious edge, and Fez, the clueless and endearing foreign exchange student. Then there was Donna Pinciotti, Eric's intelligent and grounded neighbor, and Jackie Burkhart, the wealthy and somewhat snobby girl from their school. Though framed as a comedy, the series addressed universal teenage struggles that resonate across generations, like relationship ups and downs, academic pressures, and the challenges of underage drinking and substance abuse. Amid all the bickering and sarcasm, the deep care and friendship between the characters were always clear. A prime example of this was the relationship between Jackie and Kelso, which took center stage in Season 1, Episode 5, when they shared a kiss in front of an audience of 10 million viewers. At the time, Ashton was 19 and Mila Kunis was just 14. Mila vividly remembers how nervous and uneasy she felt about her first on-screen kiss with Ashton. She had expected a simple peck, since it was early in their filming schedule, but was surprised when the scene required something a lot more intimate. Although she was anxious, Ashton was considerate and did his best to make her feel comfortable. However, the situation took a turn when Demi Masterson, who played Hyde, made a joking remark, offering Ashton $10 to French kiss Mila, which only made her feel more uncomfortable. The incident, which was intended as a lighthearted prank, has since been viewed more critically in hindsight. Reflecting on her early career, Mila Kunis has spoken openly about the fear and vulnerability she felt at the time, emotions that many initially found endearing. She has discussed how uncomfortable she was with the way her character's romantic scenes were handled on That 70s Show. Mila revealed that she was essentially required to kiss every male character on the show, except for the one played by Tofur. Kunis expressed how troubling and upsetting this was, especially for her and her parents. She candidly acknowledged how the repeated on-screen kisses felt problematic, and pointed out that it seemed like the writers and producers hadn't really considered the impact of their decisions. She described the whole situation as quite wrong, and was confused as to why they didn't seem to care about the consequences. We've all heard unsettling stories about Hollywood, and if Mila Kunis was pushed into doing things that made her uncomfortable on screen, it makes you wonder what might have gone on behind the scenes. Ashton Kutcher's rise to fame with That 70s Show was a massive success, with the first season pulling in an average of 11.7 million viewers across its 25 episodes. But while many people admired his newfound stardom, some critics dismissed him as just another pretty face with no real talent. Among the most affected by Ashton's success was his twin brother, Michael. He admitted to feeling a deep sense of jealousy, especially when he saw Ashton getting more attention and recognition than he was. This sense of resentment took a toll on Michael, causing him a lot of emotional distress. Things took a much darker turn when Michael's health crisis became public. Ashton was forced to witness his twin brother flatlining on a hospital bed, an experience that completely rocked his world. This terrifying moment gave Ashton a whole new perspective on his life and career, shaking him to the core. What many don't know is that Ashton's mother, Diane, had no idea she was carrying twins until she was on her way to the hospital. Just 5 minutes after Ashton was born, Diane gave birth to Michael. The doctors were immediately concerned because Michael weighed only 4 pounds at birth. At the time, Diane had no idea that complications during the delivery, including a lack of oxygen, would lead to long-term health problems for Michael. Michael was eventually diagnosed with a mild case of cerebral palsy, CP, a condition that affects movement, balance, and posture. CP is the most common motor disability in children, and occurs due to abnormal brain development or damage to the brain, impacting a person's ability to control their muscles. At first, the Kutcher family didn't fully understand the severity of Michael's condition. Instead of focusing on what he couldn't do, they emphasized his strengths and abilities, just like they did with Ashton. Michael later reflected on their upbringing, noting that their family never highlighted the differences between them. Instead, Ashton and Michael simply recognized that they each had their own unique talents and skills. Michael fondly remembered how Ashton was so devoted to him that he wouldn't attend a sleepover unless Michael could join him. Despite the challenges Michael faced, Ashton carried a deep sense of guilt about his own health and normality compared to what his brother was going through. However, things took a tragic turn in 8th grade when Michael began showing flu-like symptoms. Doctors soon diagnosed him with viral myocarditis, a serious condition that caused his heart to enlarge. His prognosis was bleak, with doctors giving him only 3 to 4 weeks to live. During this incredibly difficult time, Ashton stayed right by Michael's side, offering him unwavering support and comfort. The situation took a terrifying turn when Michael flatlined, leaving Ashton to deal with an overwhelming sense of helplessness. In his panic and desperation, Ashton even considered a drastic idea. He wondered if his own heart could be a perfect match for Michael's, and asked his parents if he could sacrifice himself for his brother's survival. Luckily, within just 24 hours, a heart donor was found, thanks to an accident victim in another state. Michael successfully underwent the heart transplant, which saved his life and spared him from the grim fate that had seemed inevitable. Ashton's past isn't all smiles and fame. He also has a criminal history. Fans might be shocked to learn that the charming actor was once involved in a break-in at his high school. As a teenager, Ashton and his cousin attempted to steal a copy of the answers to an upcoming test. According to biographer Mark Shapiro, when Ashton's parents found out, they were furious and decided to let him spend the night in jail as punishment. Ashton later recalled, "My stepdad told me if I ever got thrown in jail, he'd let me stay there for the night. When he called his stepdad to let him know, his stepdad simply said, 'Have a good night,' and hung up." As a result of his actions, Ashton was sentenced to 3 years of probation and 180 hours of community service. To add insult to injury, he was banned from participating in school sports, and just before senior prom, his girlfriend dumped him. The fallout from this incident stayed with Ashton for years, leaving a lasting impact on him. In 2017, while accepting the Robert D. Ray Pillar of Character Award at Drake University, Ashton Kutcher made a joke about his past legal issues. He playfully mentioned, "I'm probably the first guy to get this award who had a deferred judgment for a felony burglary." He went on to joke about how that sentence still haunted him. By the way, when you actually get it expunged from your record and then go to get your global entry pass, they still remember. So it never really goes away. His sense of humor about the situation made it clear that, while his past might follow him, he'd learned to laugh at it. Ashton's big break came during his time at the University of Iowa. Known for his wild lifestyle, noisy parties, and chaotic behavior, he was eventually kicked out of his apartment because of his disruptive antics. His nights were filled with partying, and many mornings started with him having little memory of the night before. In the middle of this whirlwind, a pivotal moment came while Ashton was at the Airliner bar in Iowa City. A woman approached him and suggested he give modeling a try. With nothing to lose, Ashton entered the Fresh Faces of Iowa modeling competition, and to his surprise, he won first place. This unexpected win opened a new door for him, one far away from his college education. Confident in his success, Ashton made the bold decision to move to New York City and attend the International Modeling and Talent Association convention. Although he didn't win the competition, Josh Duhamel did, the event proved to be a turning point. His striking looks and height, standing at 6'2" tall, caught the attention of several modeling agencies, setting him on a path to stardom. Shortly after, Ashton Kutcher signed a modeling contract with Next Modeling Agency, marking a decisive break from his academic pursuits. He dropped out of school to fully focus on his modeling career, which quickly took off. He became the face of major campaigns, including Calvin Klein and the skateboarding brand Zoo York. Despite this early success, Ashton knew his true passion was acting. So, When he heard about auditions for comedy sitcoms in Los Angeles, he jumped at the chance. He auditioned for 2 roles on separate shows, and remarkably, he landed both. The first role was in a 1-hour TV drama about cowboy surfers, a project he was excited about. However, after some thought, he decided to pass on the part, feeling it wasn't the right fit. That show, Wind on Water, ended up being a low-budget adventure that was canceled after just 6 episodes. The second role, however, would change everything. Ashton secured the part of Michael Kelso on That 70s Show, a role that skyrocketed him to stardom and firmly established his career in the entertainment world. Although Ashton had a few smaller roles in romantic comedies like Coming Soon and Down to You, and even an action thriller Rain Games, it was his lead role in Dude, Where's My Car? That marked a true turning point. The stoner comedy in which 2 friends wake up after a wild night of partying with no memory of where they left their car was written by That 70s Show screenwriter and script editor Philip Stark. Stark tailored the script to Ashton's comedic strengths, knowing exactly how to showcase his timing and style, making the film a perfect fit for him. Although Dude, Where's My Car? Received critical reviews, with many deeming it unfunny, its commercial success was undeniable. The film grossed over $73 million worldwide against a modest $13 million budget, proving that Kutcher's comedic appeal resonated with audiences despite the negative reviews. However, Ashton Kutcher also faced real-life tragedy when he was involved in a harrowing encounter. In February 2001, he was scheduled to pick up Ashley Ellerin, a 22-year-old fashion design student, for a date. Tragically, Ashley had been brutally murdered by serial killer Michael Gargiulo. Ashton had met Ashley at a party, and on the night of the murder, he arrived at her home to find no one answering the door. Recalling the disturbing experience, Ashton testified in court about the unsettling situation. He knocked on Ashley's door multiple times but received no response. Initially, he assumed that she had either gone out or was upset with him for being late. He noticed what seemed like stains on the floor through the window but didn't suspect anything was wrong at the time. It wasn't until the next day, when news of her murder broke, that Ashton realized the gravity of the situation. In a state of panic, Ashton went to the detectives and expressed his concerns, saying, "I remember the next day after I heard about what happened, I went to the detectives and said my fingerprints are on the door." He was understandably distressed by the revelation, feeling the weight of his involvement in a tragic event that he hadn't been aware of at the time. The case surrounding Ashley Ellerin's 2001 murder eventually led to the arrest and conviction of Michael Gargiulo, who was sentenced to death for the murders of Ashley and another woman. However, years later, new questions arose about Ashton Kutcher's involvement in the events of that night. The renewed scrutiny began when Chrissy Bixler, the girlfriend of Danny Masterson, Kutcher's co-star on That 70s Show, posted a cryptic message on Instagram. In her story, Bixler claimed, "Did you forget I was there? You were on speakerphone the night you called Danny on February 21, 2001, which was the night of the murder. I heard everything. I heard the plan. In my opinion, you're just as sick as your mentor." Bixler's allegation, suggesting she overheard a conversation implicating Kutcher in a broader plan, cast a shadow over the actor. While the events had largely flown under the radar at the time, Bixler's recent comments reignited interest in the case, raising uncomfortable questions about what might have transpired that night. Amidst this controversy, Kutcher's career hit a significant peak. In 2003, he starred alongside Brittany Murphy in Just Married, a romantic comedy that became a major turning point in his career. During the film's production, Kutcher discovered his natural talent for romantic comedies, realizing that this genre was where he truly excelled. His on-screen chemistry with Murphy translated into a brief off-screen romance, which helped propel the film to over $100 million in global box office earnings. Despite Just Married's commercial success, Ashton Kutcher faced harsh criticism from film critics, especially at the 24th Golden Raspberry Awards, where he was nominated for Worst Actor for all 3 of his 2003 films. This underscored the critical disdain that followed him, despite his box office appeal. Kutcher made an effort to break out of his romantic comedy mold with The Butterfly Effect, a science fiction thriller where he played Evan Treborn, a man who experiences blackouts and discovers he can travel back in time to his younger self, making small changes in the past to reshape the future. While the film was another box office hit, the critics were again unkind. No matter how successful his films were commercially, Kutcher struggled to win over critics, who often dismissed him as a heartthrob aimed at teenage girls. What many people didn't realize, however, was that Kutcher had been taking control of his career behind the scenes. At just 22 years old, he co-founded a production company called Catalyst with Jason Goldberg. Recognizing that producing could offer far greater financial rewards than acting alone, Kutcher positioned himself as not just an actor, but a savvy entrepreneur. However, his ambitious ventures nearly led to disaster during his next major TV project in the early 2000s. Catalyst and MTV partnered to develop a hidden camera show initially titled Harassment, which involved elaborate pranks on unsuspecting everyday people. However, things took a disastrous turn in January 2002 during the filming of the pilot episode. James and Lori Ann Ryan, a couple from Washington, D.C., were vacationing in Las Vegas and had booked a stay at the Hard Rock Hotel. Upon entering their room, they were horrified to find what appeared to be a gruesome crime scene, complete with a dead body surrounded by blood. As they tried to leave, they were blocked by actors posing as security guards, and another actor dressed as a paramedic entered the room. Just as the couple's panic reached its peak, Ashton Kutcher revealed that it was all a staged prank for the new show. The Ryans were far from amused. Instead of the intended laughs, the prank resulted in a $10 million lawsuit against Kutcher and MTV, which derailed the harassment project. James and Lori Ann Ryan's Las Vegas vacation turned into a nightmare. They were traumatized by the prank, which led them to sue MTV for invasion of privacy, infliction of emotional distress, fraud, and other serious claims. This incident was a significant misstep for the show, and shockingly, it wasn't even the first time MTV faced legal trouble over ill-conceived pranks. Just 8 months earlier, 2 teenage girls had sued the network after being sprayed with human excrement during the taping of Dude, This Sucks, another show that sought shock value. MTV issued an apology and vowed never to air the footage, but the damage had already been done and the lawsuit continued to drag on in court. Despite the controversies surrounding Ashton Kutcher's harassment debacle, he managed to sidestep major fallout. Remarkably, MTV still saw potential in the prank show concept and decided to rebrand it, shifting the focus from unsuspecting civilians to celebrities. This pivot proved to be a game changer, and Punk premiered in March 2003, quickly becoming an instant hit. The first episode set the tone for the series, with Kutcher orchestrating pranks on pop superstar Justin Timberlake and Malcolm in the Middle actor Frankie Muniz. The prank on Timberlake, in which he was led to believe he owed $900,000 in back taxes and was confronted by government agents who began confiscating his possessions, became legendary. The stunt was so well executed that Time magazine later ranked it number 3 on their list of 32 epic moments in reality TV history. While Punk'd wasn't the first prank show, it quickly became the most popular of its time. The second season alone drew 7.4 million viewers, marking a 55% increase from the first season, with the show becoming especially popular among viewers aged 12 to 34. Punk'd wasn't just a successful TV show, it became a cultural phenomenon. The phrase, "Am I being punked right now?" entered the vernacular, becoming a go-to expression for people caught in bizarre or unexpected situations. The very idea that Ashton Kutcher could be lurking behind a camera crew became a running joke, underscoring how deeply the show had embedded itself into the cultural zeitgeist. Meanwhile, Kutcher's role in that 70s show continued to bring him considerable success. At the height of the show's popularity, he was earning between $250,000 and $300,000 per episode, adding up to as much as $8 million per season. However, as the show's fortunes began to wane, key cast members started to leave, signaling a shift in the show's dynamics. Topher Grace, who played the central character Eric Foreman, exited that 70s show after the 7th season, and many fans felt the show lost its core without him. Ashton Kutcher also decided to leave after the 7th season to explore new opportunities in both acting and producing. Kutcher's post-That 70s Show film career was marked by a string of roles that solidified his typecasting as the dumb hot guy. This niche brought commercial success but little critical acclaim. Between 2006 and 2014, he appeared in 13 films, but most failed to leave a significant mark outside the realm of romantic comedies. His first major project after That 70s Show was Bobby, a film centered around the assassination of Robert Kennedy. Despite an impressive star-studded cast, Bobby struggled to resonate with audiences, with the actors, including Kutcher, seen more as special guest stars rather than believable portrayals of 1968 Americans. The film ultimately floundered at the box office. Ashton's subsequent roles in The Guardian, Open Season, and What Happens in Vegas continued this trend. While these films performed reasonably well commercially, they were largely dismissed by critics as mediocre and did little to elevate Ashton's standing in Hollywood. His ventures into indie films, such as Spread and The Brothers, were even less successful, with both projects receiving poor reviews and failing to achieve commercial traction. In 2010, Ashton starred opposite Katherine Heigl in the action comedy Killers. The film received largely negative reviews and barely managed to break even, grossing $98 million against a $75 million budget. With his film career on shaky ground, Ashton returned to familiar territory with another romantic comedy, No Strings Attached, in which he co-starred with Natalie Portman. While the film itself received mixed reviews, it was adored by fans, grossing over $149 million worldwide. During this period, Ashton's personal life also became a major tabloid topic. His marriage to actress Demi Moore, whom he met in 2003 when he was 25 and she was 40, became a constant source of media attention, with their relationship frequently making headlines. Ashton Kutcher's 15-year age gap with Demi Moore made them an unexpected and intriguing Hollywood couple, particularly considering that Demi had 3 daughters from her previous marriage to Bruce Willis. However, their relationship began to unravel amidst rumors of Ashton's infidelity. After months of speculation and negative press, Ashton and Demi decided to divorce, ending their high-profile marriage. The end of his marriage to Demi Moore marked the beginning of a new chapter in Ashton's life, both personally and professionally. He soon found himself back in the spotlight, this time as part of Hollywood's newest power couple, alongside his former That 70s Show co-star Mila Kunis. Even after his divorce, Ashton remained deeply connected to Demi's daughters, continuing to serve as a father figure in their lives. Reflecting on his bond with them, Ashton said, "I make a conscious effort to stay in touch with the girls. I love them, and I'm never going to stop loving them, respecting them, honoring them, and rooting for them to be successful in whatever they're pursuing." As fate would have it, life took a delightful turn for That 70s Show fans when Ashton reunited with Mila Kunis. Their on-screen romance blossomed into a real-life relationship, fulfilling the dreams of many fans who had long hoped for them to become a couple. In 2011, Ashton made a triumphant return to television when he replaced Charlie Sheen on the hit sitcom 2.5 Men. Sheen's public meltdown had led to his departure, and Ashton was brought in to fill the void. He once again played to his strengths, taking on the role of a charming but idiotic womanizer. While the show's ratings eventually declined, leading to its cancellation, Ashton's involvement in the series was highly lucrative. Beyond acting, Ashton Kutcher became known as a smart investor. His estimated net worth of $200 million isn't just from his film career. He made a name for himself in the tech industry by backing companies like Uber, Skype, Airbnb, Spotify, Pinterest, Shazam, and Square. Early on, he even showcased his expertise as a guest investor on Shark Tank in 2015, further solidifying his reputation as a savvy business mogul. Ashton Kutcher's tech-savvy nature played an interesting role in his relationship with Mila Kunis. During their early days of dating, Kunis shared with Jimmy Kimmel how Ashton often asked her to test various dating apps for him. "When we started dating, Tinder hadn't really taken off yet," Kunis recalled. "He was like, 'Babe, I have this idea. You need to do me a favor and check out this app.'" Kunis gamely started swiping to give him feedback. But it didn't stop there. He had her try out other apps too. Kunis laughed, saying, "This is what I do at home. He makes me go on all of these websites. What's the gay version of Tinder? Grindr? I've been on Grindr. Despite his involvement in dating apps, a failed blind date led to Ashton marrying Mila Kunis. Although today, Ashton and Mila are one of Hollywood's most beloved couples, their journey to romance had a humorous twist. Back in 2012, Ashton was actually trying to set Mila up with one of his best friends. Both actors had recently come out of serious relationships, and Ashton invited Kunis over to hang out, with a hidden agenda. I found out later that my husband was trying to set me up on a blind date with one of his best friends, Mila shared with James Corden, reflecting on how their platonic relationship turned into something more. That night, he had a friend that he wanted to set me up with, but that didn't happen. Mila also joked that given they had both starred in films about being friends with benefits, they should have seen their romance coming. Ashton, however, gave his side of the story in an interview with Howard Stern, revealing that he originally intended to stay single. But when his friend didn't show up, he and Mila started to get closer. It was pretty mutual. It was kind of obvious that things were happening, he admitted. He also recalled a funny moment from that night when Mila, who had recently quit smoking, asked him to shotgun some smoke into her mouth for a second-hand experience. Gradually through the night, it got closer and closer and closer, he said. Beyond their personal lives, Ashton and Mila's bond extended to philanthropy. They worked together to raise over $35 million for Ukrainian refugees, showing the couple's commitment to causes they care about. In March 2022, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis made a major impact by helping raise over $35 million for Ukrainians affected by Russia's invasion. However, one of Ashton's most impactful yet lesser-known endeavors is his tireless work to combat child sex trafficking through his nonprofit organization, Thorn. Thorn, Digital Defenders of Children, provides free software to law enforcement to help identify victims of sex trafficking and track down those responsible for the exploitation of children. Ashton has been passionately dedicated to this cause for over a decade, and his efforts have had a significant impact. According to Thorn's 2021 Impact Report, their software, Spotlight, identified 3,977 victims in 2021 alone, and 24,366 victims since the software's launch. Today, over 2,700 law enforcement agencies use Thorn's technology. The organization not only helps rescue children from their abusers, but also works to remove harmful content from the internet. As co-founder and chairperson of Thorn, Ashton has dedicated substantial time and resources to this mission. In 2017, Ashton Kutcher testified before Congress about the horrific realities of child sex trafficking. His testimony was deeply disturbing but crucial for raising awareness. Ashton shared harrowing details from his experiences, including witnessing footage of a child the same age as his own being abused by an American man. He also recalled a case in Cambodia, where a young girl, conditioned by her environment, believed she was simply playing, unaware of the exploitation she was enduring. Ashton emphasized that while it typically takes years for federal agents to track down traffickers, Thorn's software can identify them in as little as 3 weeks, and sometimes in as few as 3 days. He urged Congress not only to fund initiatives that would expand this critical infrastructure, but also to support government initiatives aimed at combating human trafficking. While it remains unclear whether his testimony directly led to new government programs, Ashton's commitment to the cause has remained steadfast. In 2022, he raised over $1 million for Thorn by running the New York City Marathon. Today, Thorn employs a dedicated team of over 100 people, all working relentlessly to protect children from sexual abuse. Recently, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis found themselves embroiled in controversy after their actions concerning their former That 70s Show co-star, Demi Masterson. Masterson was convicted of sexual assault in 2023, following accusations from 5 women who claimed he assaulted them in the early 2000s. 3 of these women were Scientologists, a religion Masterson has been affiliated with since childhood. Masterson maintained his innocence, asserting that the accusations were false and motivated by women seeking attention, particularly in the wake of the #MeToo movement. However, the court reached a different conclusion. The trial, which began in October 2022, revealed disturbing testimonies about Masterson's alleged brutality, with one of the victims being his former girlfriend, Chrissy Bixler. In May 2023, Masterson was convicted of sexually assaulting 2 women in 2003. In a surprising twist, both Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis wrote letters to the judge requesting leniency in Masterson's sentencing. In his letter, Ashton described Masterson as an exceptionally honest and intentional individual, and praised him as a role model despite the guilty verdict. He concluded his letter by stating, "While I acknowledge that Dani has been found guilty of 2 counts of sexual assault and that the victims seek justice, I hope my testimony about his character is considered during sentencing. I don't believe he poses an ongoing threat to society, and it would be an additional injustice for his daughter to grow up without her father." Despite Ashton and Mila's pleas, the judge sentenced Dani Masterson to 30 years in prison for his crimes. Ashton's vocal support for Masterson, particularly after the conviction, has dramatically altered the public's perception of him. Many people have expressed disappointment in his actions, especially given the severity of the crime and the ongoing conversation about sexual assault and accountability in Hollywood. For the past decade, Ashton Kutcher has been a staunch advocate against human trafficking, working tirelessly to rescue victims and raise awareness about the heinous crimes involved. His foundation, Thorn, has been instrumental in developing technology to help law enforcement track down traffickers and identify victims. Ashton has witnessed firsthand the horrors of human trafficking and has worked passionately to combat it, making his advocacy a cornerstone of his public image. However, his defense of his That 70s Show co-star Dani Masterson, who was convicted of sexual assault in 2023, severely undermined his credibility as an advocate for victims of abuse. Masterson's crimes, which mirrored the very issues Ashton had been fighting against, left many questioning his sincerity. In letters to the judge, Ashton praised Masterson's character, arguing that his imprisonment would be an injustice and that Masterson posed no ongoing threat to society. This starkly contradicted his years of work combating sexual assault and trafficking, and it led to a public backlash once the letters were leaked online. In the wake of the fallout, Ashton and Mila Kunis issued an apology, acknowledging the significant pain caused by the character letters. They clarified that the letters were written at the request of Masterson's family, who sought to provide a perspective on Masterson's character for the judge to consider during sentencing. They emphasized that the letters were not meant to question the judicial system or the jury's verdict, nor were they intended to undermine the victims' testimonies or re-traumatize them. Despite their explanation, many still felt that their actions contradicted their past advocacy work, and their apology did little to assuage the public's disappointment. This controversy significantly damaged Ashton's reputation, leaving many to question the authenticity of his previous advocacy efforts. While he and Mila expressed regret for any harm caused, the damage to their credibility was done, and their continued support for victims of abuse was put into doubt by the public.